Yo, what is up? Good morning, everybody. Look at this guy, always first in the house. Almost first. Some of you guys are really early. Good morning. Good morning. Another crazy Monday in the market. I had some wild stuff, but yeah, Amazon is, I think maybe soy milk man. I think maybe the headline of the day. I think people thought it might have been uh might have been an nvidia coming in, but yeah, I don't know. It's milk time. I don't know. I have what do I have today? I have green tea. Not the craziest. Good morning, guys. Good morning. Hola. Everybody piling in. Appreciate everybody. Appreciate you guys retweeting the posts. If you can, give it a like. Subscribe to the channel if you're not. I don't know what you're doing here if you're not, but all good. Welcome, by the way. So every Monday, what we do here, if you're new, if you're watching this on replay, what have you, it is the lunch hour. So Monday morning at the lunch hour, this is the time that I've always kind of like taken out of my day and just sat back and kind of tried to plan the rest of the week. So that's what we do here every morning, every Monday morning that the market is open on the channel. So welcome and good morning to all of you all. And appreciate you guys stopping by. So, green tea milk with flavor. I don't know if I've green tea with milk flavor. It's probably, what is that? Is that no? That's not chai. I don't know what chai is. I'm not a chai guy, but anyways, it's all good. We might have. I'm just here for Miss Cleo. Sorry, last week we had to rush out, so I didn't do Miss Cleo. I do have Miss Cleo this week. And this week I have some other stuff that I want to put on you guys' radar that you might not be looking at also. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get on with this. I think this, again, clearly the headline of the day. Amazon, was looking great earnings, by the way, and then this massive 38 billion, kind of like this deal with OpenAI, looking weak on Friday's close, maybe pulling back a little bit, and then kabam, huge pop today out of the gate. So congrats to Amazon shareholders. I think this is a big win. This stock has been held back for a while. And finally, just finally catching the bid, at least acting a little bit more, let's say Google-like, at least recently. So can't wait for the hangman card. It's not a hangman card today, I will say, but it's a weird card. SoFi moving, man. Yes, please give the stream a like for sure. Give the stream a like. Subscribe to the channel if you're not. And let's get this party started. So I kind of changed the flow up a little bit. It's a lot of text, it's a lot of words, but this is kind of my output. And checking out the market this morning, I'm like, okay, what's going on? So gold pops this morning, and this is kind of sorted by like what's the biggest market cap influence, if you will. Gold pops this morning. China eases gold tax rebates amid stabilizing dollar. So this dollar, by the way, has stopped going down, which is a big deal. If you're not watching that, that's the DXY, or we call it the Dixie in the trading world. And the dollar has been on a steady decline for quite a while. And that has actually stopped going down over the last, say, couple months. And I think that has a lot to do with the Fed policy and things like that. So that's on policy tweaks. So it's small safe haven flows. And I think the question a lot of people had, well, do I buy gold now that it's had a huge pullback and pops up today? I'm not jumping into this one yet. I still think it's really this. So OpenAI, AWS, 38 billion deal for NVIDIA GPU access, right? So up like 5% in the morning. Hyperscale CapEx is still going. Amazon 300 end a year. Yeah, I don't know. 300 end a year. That's like, God, that's a lot of percent in a month. So that might be a little aggressive. So I'm giving you guys, I'm writing out a little bit of the why it matters. So it's a little different. Oh, I actually have why it matters. But this is like the fundamental stuff in terms of trading. Ooh. Oh no. I hope. Testing. My chat froze. Can you guys still hear me? No. All right. Well, the stream looks okay. I think it's just Restream that actually froze, not the actual stream. All right. So US clears UAE chip sales plus Loop Capital. I think this is NVIDIA. Oh, no, price at 142. Shoot. What was this one? All right. I think we're back. We're back. Who was this one? This was 350 price target. Who had the 350 price target? I deleted the note. Somebody got a 350 price target. I deleted who it was. Crap. I don't know if it was Amazon or not. No. Somebody did. I messed that one up. And then crypto. So this was crypto. He goes, we are so back. Oh, good. So crypto. So why is crypto kind of falling? So it's a lot of stuff, but it's really mostly this Fed hawkishness, by the way. So Fed hawkishness, that was yesterday's or last week's comments. And we'll take a look at the charts. But there was one comment that J Powell said, and that is straight up like, don't expect that the December rate cut is not a foregone conclusion. Like, it's not absolutely guaranteed. And we got about 400 million leveraged bets in the crypto space that wiped out over the weekend. So somewhat risk off ahead of jobs data, about 200 trillion in the crypto market cap. Crypto's been pretty, thank you guys. So it was 350 on NVIDIA. Also, NVIDIA breaking, just got another headline as well. So that should be moving right now. I love how you guys are still coming in. No, it was NVIDIA. But I think NVIDIA just got another headline live about, I saw it coming in on like Lambda or something like that. Let's see if I could pull it. Tesla's moving too. There's a lot of stuff that I actually didn't get on here. There's a lot. Yeah, as part of Lambda's agreement with Microsoft, Lambda will deploy AI infrastructure powered by NVIDIA per CNBC. That just came out like literally 10 minutes before we started the stream. Slow recovery on crypto for sure. Lambda is Microsoft. Sorry. Slow recovery on crypto. Crypto is not. So crypto is choppy right now. It's not the greatest space. It's more of a, do we have the final press into late Q4? And it's possible. It's very possible. I have one more slide that will show where the final end of this rally might potentially begin, and it could be coming very soon. So stay tuned on that for sure. If you have the chart request, go ahead and shut them now. But just drop them here, and if we have time, we'll get to them in a little bit. But the TLDR, really, AI frenzy powers tech outperform. This is the deal, right? Crypto's still choppy. There's still some selective, hedging going on for if the dollar pops, then there's strong inflation too. One thing I didn't talk about, there's a lot of this, and I might be able to pull up the charts in a little bit, but have you guys database managed as to MongoDB? Yeah. By the way, MongoDB up like 10% in the pre-market. I have a swing trade on MongoDB, and it gave like all of it back. I'm like, oh my goodness. And we can do UNH. I do like UNH right here, right now. But it's I think it's mostly risk on. due to this, right? The deals that we're talking about, look, 30 something billion dollars AWS deal again. Last week it was every week it's like the deals are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. These numbers are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I mean, it's just insane. And then in the meantime, we have other things happening underneath the market, like Tesla. What's Tesla right now? I haven't even looked at it. Tesla's probably rallying. I know it was going hot this morning. It's just under 470. It was 473 this morning. Tesla right now it's very much about the shareholder vote. I mean, if you want to vote, then you needed to be a shareholder of record. And that whole kind of rally started last week. It's not about the flying cars or robo-taxi stuff. I really don't think so. I think very much about it's about being able to vote. I think that this move is people accumulating the shares, most likely, and he's probably going to get the votes. I hope he gets the votes, because if he gets the votes, then there's something really big to look forward to in terms of share price appreciation, which is actually going to be a really big deal. They do have like a Shanghai ramp is what he's talking about, something like that. But yeah, I think there's some kind of China production boost going on that's potentially also helping this Tesla narrative at the same time. That's underlying all of this. But in reality, I think the biggest driving factor, although flying cars, yes, are very fun, I don't think it's really what's pushing the price. I think it's very much about the shareholder vote. People trying to, they want to be shareholders of record for the vote. And by the way, Robinhood making it very easy to vote on their platform. I don't know if you guys have seen that, but that is, that makes it really easy to vote. So pretty cool. Some of the stuff that Robinhood's doing. And by the way, also our buddy, let me see if I can pull this up. Our buddy Amit, I just looked at this. He posted something this morning. Robinhood announces a partnership with Sage Home Loans to offer gold subscriber mortgage rates. I mean, Hood was up earlier. Let's see if it's still holding. My guess is it pulled back. It pulled back a little bit. It pulled back for sure. But yeah, I mean, just another reason why this company is just, for me, super special. Like, this is not in anybody's real bingo card on like how they're going to just increase their typical business. This is a completely brand new line of business that's not in any analyst like math on how they're going to factor what this company is valued. So just another way Robinhood's just, again, I mean, going beyond expectations. It's almost like uncapped potential here with what they're doing. They're thinking completely out of the box. But yeah, very, very cool to see for sure. And there was some other stuff. What is this? Kimberly-Clark takeover. They're up like 46% at 46% premium. That's a big one. $21 price. And then Kenvue acquisition dilutes EPS outlook. That thing is down 12%. So Kenvue down, Kimberly-Clark. What's Kimberly-Clark? Kimberly-Clark was a takeover. Oh, I have some really weird. KMB is the ticker. That's down also. 104 per share. KVU is up. Right? Well, there you have it. Those are the two. Is the meta dip over? You guys keep asking about the meta dip. We can talk about that for sure. But I said I want to talk about one thing. So we usually hop into the seasonality piece. Has anybody heard about the January effect? Are you guys familiar with that? The chat is like delayed. But the January effect is actually, this is small cap seasonality. Is gold the new crypto? No, gold's not the new crypto. I don't think you have to rush into gold. right now. I think you have probably like another, when gold does this thing, it's a huge move, big pullback. I think you can wait on gold probably to the end of the year. But the January effect, since you're not, a lot of you guys are not, this is small cap specific seasonality. And this is a big deal for the Russell, right? And it might coincide with a little bit of that crypto run. So typically what happens is that you get this little blip, and this is a lot of that seasonality for the small caps. Late December or late November ends up being the low for the small cap index. And right now we're really high on the Russell as an index. But from an annual perspective, the rally for the IWM happens literally right now, mid to late November. You start your shopping list. You get to pick it up. You get a bit of a run, and then probably a decent pullback, some kind of small pullback, which coincides with about the October lows, and then it kicks off a massive rally, typically for the Russell. And this is like this is about 30 years of data. I can pull this up. Actually, I could pull this up on TrendSpider. June's in the house. She's late. It's all good. I'm on time today. But I think the IWM is what you start to shift to look for right now. And this is also going to coincide with a lot of this rate discussions too. Well, Jay Powell says, hey, look, the December rate cut is not a guaranteed thing. A lot of that is going to show up in the IWM. What we can also say is that, if I take this away, if I go to the CBOE Fed Watch tool, out of the gate, when you looked at this, it was kind of like, well, the market instantly said, we don't believe you. So the market was here coming in to the FOMC meeting. This is for December, by the way. Probabilities for the rate cut at 94%. And then it comes down 63. And then as we move forward, it's like, well, even though Jay Powell said, look, we'll be data dependent. And by the way, there's no data really. The market starts to reprice it back in. And that's kind of where we are right now. And this probability went, jump skyrocket, but is coming down. We're pricing that back in. So even though he said what he said, the market's kind of pricing it slowly but surely right back into the market. And this is kind of where we sit. So 65% probability for the rate cut in December. And then we do have another FOMC in January, nothing in February. Then we go straight to March. So what's interesting here is that we don't have anything priced in for January, March, or April. So this means that really the next FOMC meeting is going to be pretty important, especially around the rhetoric and what he says, because from here, we kind of have this stalled priced into the market. And if the data comes in weak moving forward, it's going to be very much bad news is good news for the market. Now, speaking of the data, we can kind of pull up the calendar. I use this trading economics calendar, and we'll just look at this week. So we don't have, so government's still shut down. We don't have a full slew of data. We did get CPI last week, by the way. So previous week. We got, let's go previous month. So we got the interest rate decision, which we knew. We did get CPI that came in slightly cooler month over month and year over year at the core, and slightly higher at the headline. But this week, not a whole lot, right? So not a whole lot going on. We just have ISM manufacturing PMI that came out today, just under 50. So when you look at these metrics, anything at 50 is going to be expansion mode. So you're slightly contracting. It's not a whole lot different from the consensus. So that's probably not going to be market moving. Maybe. I don't think that's going to be part of what we sold off this morning for. And we have some Fed speeches coming this week. Yeah, these ads are killing me. Some more speeches tomorrow. And none of this is scheduled to come out with the government still being shut down. So balance of trade, imports, exports, jolts, none of that, factory orders, not getting any of that. We do have ISM services PMI, which is looking to come in pretty flat. Mortgages, ADP. So this is going to be Wednesday. This leaves us with ADP. So we have not gotten any non-farm payroll numbers. And last month we did get ADP. And this month normally we would get NFP on the first Friday of the month, and we're clearly not going to get that. Oops. Sorry, trying to get this thing out. But in the absence of NFP, what the market is using definitively is not, what the market has that's closest to NFP is ADP. So while this is not going to be highlighted in your calendars as a high impact data point, I'm going to tell you guys right now that Wednesday's pre-market data point for ADP is probably going to be the biggest number of the week that we actually get. And it's not going to show up on your calendars. But just so you know, the market is treating this as if it were NFP because it's the closest thing that we actually have. So absolutely watch this number Wednesday morning in the pre-market. Currently, we're at a consensus of 24,000 jobs to be taken. We'll see. But I do think that, what Powell said was that we decreased rates because of the labor market being pretty weak. And I think that the market knows that the labor market is slow, mostly due to AI and that taking over a lot of jobs. We don't need a lot of those low-level jobs anymore. And it might be creeping into some more blue-collar jobs. Who knows? But that's what's going to show up here. And if that labor market is still weak, that's the data that the market's going to assume that the Fed is going to be using. And the market's going to assume that non-farm payrolls is going to come in mostly in line, basically just because we don't have anything else to go off of. So in this instance, I think bad news is going to be good news if we get it. If it's really good, maybe because we have seasonal jobs that come out, we might have that little dip on our hands that sets us up for that real Santa Claus rally. But all of these dips from here on out are really that's what sets us up for a Santa Claus rally if we're going to have it. Toyota Christmas presents. Yeah, or at least giant cookies. My boy was I don't know if I can I can't show this. My son was Cookie Monster for Christmas. You guys can't see that. It's not going to come out. No, he was Cookie Monster for Christmas. That's definitely not blurry, or that's definitely not coming out. But yeah, he likes the cookies for sure. We do get oil status report on Wednesday, and then Thursday, which we would usually get our jobs data. Nope, nothing scheduled. Continuing claims, nothing scheduled. Friday, consumer sentiment. This is usually like a blip in the radar. It's not sticking. More Fed speeches. The rig counts. All right, so we can talk about oil a little bit. So we've actually built up a little bit of a surplus in the oil status report, which is on Wednesday. So the Cushing stock change, we're actually building a little bit of a surplus here, which is maybe why some of these oil stocks are coming down near term. Same thing with heating oil and things like that. But yeah, we're not scheduled to get non-farm payrolls or any of that, which consensus was going to be 50K here. Cookie Monster is the best. And yeah, I think at the end of the day, you know, anything here. Look, if if you have PTSD from last year on the Santa rally, I really don't know what to tell you unless you were following me. So technically, here's the deal. The Santa Claus rally. Let me see if I have my slides here. I don't have the old slides. So the Santa Claus rally is real. I do. You're lucky. I have these slides. All right, so the Santa Claus rally is real. And the thing about the Santa Claus rally is that most people don't really get that it is, well, that's super blurry. It really starts out here, October, November, December, and ends in January, for sure. October, November, December, ends in January. Technically, the Santa Claus rally, I can't, you're like, technically, the Santa Claus rally, if you like look it up, it's going to say that it's like a 5 to 7 day period. Like if you ask ChatGPT, what is the Santa Claus rally and how do you define it? It's a very small window of time in at its true definition, and that is accurate. But it builds up into that, and that has already started October, November, December, January. The Santa Claus rally is like this small little blip on the radar that honestly doesn't even matter. That 5 day period of the technical Santa Claus rally may or may not come to fruition. I really don't care about that one. It's about the buildup here, which is if we get a quote unquote choppy November, this is the dip that you actually buy to capture that Santa Claus rally. And when everybody else, it's the 4 days, correct. There you go. Better. It is the 4 days right after Christmas. This dip into Thanksgiving or whatever, if we get one mid-November, is the dip that you buy to capture the actual ramp into the Santa Claus rally. And the actual 4 days, honestly, sometimes comes, sometimes doesn't. And it may end up being a sell the news event, which eventually recovers. But I don't like to rely on that kind of stuff. What I know to be true is that it's a multi-month ramp into that Q4 into Q1. And that's what we're about to see. And that's very much where this January effect really finishes off a lot of that move. So we've seen this. We're getting to earnings season now. We'll have some earnings season follow through. We've already had a lot of that, right? And I've always said, it begins in the eating season, right? Eating season begins October 31st, and the ramp into that, into Thanksgiving, into Christmas, into New Year's. But by Valentine's Day and Easter, you're pretty much done, right? I do care about Christmas. And yes, in other words, your BMNR dip is coming. It may or may not be today, but if you liked BMNR, yeah, it's falling. And it may go one more leg lower, not a joke, but this could be the dip that you're waiting for if you're waiting for that. And no, there are absolutely exceptions. There was a 2018, the Grinch came to town in a big way. There have been times when there's absolutely no Santa Claus rally. This is just seasonal stuff. But if trading was a game based on probability and statistics, you do need to look at patterns of seasonality and those kind of trends. So if you were to stack a statistic and put it on your edge, put it on your card as an edge, this is one of those that you can actually do. No, we didn't do any stocks yet. All right. So I think that said, we can kind of move on. There's one other piece. Let's do this. Let me go ahead and walk through Evan's, and I think Evan might be here in a little bit. 1 second. J-Roy already bought the bmnr dip. I think you're on the server, so we went over that. But anyways, here's Evan's. So if you don't know Evan stock market news, here's the link to this post. I'll just pin this right now. Right. But we're just going to go over some pretty quick catalyst watches and the earnings calendar for this week and see what we have looking forward aside from what we've just done so far. So earnings calendar on deck. We have a huge, massive week again. So last week I was going through the earnings stuff. I think it was the day that Amazon reported. I had to go through 380 companies that reported earnings in one session. That was insane. I think that was the peak, which I think was Thursday night. Believe it or not, I think this is going to be downhill from here, but it's still really, really massive. Yeah, so this is my level on bmnr, very close to it. You know, I don't want to be over precise, so somewhere around here, I think you're good. Everything before the open Fubo came down. I think they did finalize that Disney merger, or that the Hulu merger. Ends up being a bit of a sell the news event near term, but we'll see how it goes. For those in the Fubo cult, if you will, look, the stock is up a lot. We'll see how it goes from here. I haven't looked at Baker Hughes yet or Hess. Some of these are interesting. Tonight, oh my goodness. All right. We got a big night ahead of us. Oh man. So Palantir tonight after the close for the Palantirians. Hymns for the Hymns house. Navitas. I don't know how that's going to go. Realty incomes. We got some energy stuff. Wow. Okay. So we're going to kick off this week hot and heavy, especially with Palantir and Hymns. These are going to be pretty. Hymns is going to be a massive mover. Navitas is probably going to be a big mover. Realty probably not going to move. UUU. I don't know. And VRTX. This is big mover, big mover, big mover, big mover. I have no idea what Palantir is going to do, but our boy is, is constantly pretty bullish. We already got the move though. So we'll see. And then, right away, before we even open, Shopify, Uber, Spotify. Yeah, this is just nonstop. Pfizer, Race and Zoetis. These are smaller names. Wow. This is just such a massive week. And then AMD, my SMCI, my Arista, my Rivian. I got a big, and my Astera. I got a big Tuesday. 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't think Rivian's going to do much. This is like chopping. But SMCI, Arista, and Astera, and AMD, and Tempest. Oh God, we're not going to catch a break this week, guys. Like at all. And Grab, yeah, Grab. I think is today. I think Grab is today after the close. I'm sure Amit's going to give us some coverage on that. But yeah, this is going to be a massive couple days. And then look at this. Lemonade stock has been on a tear. If you didn't know, Digital Ocean, I'm all DocuSign. Digital Ocean, some more uranium stocks. Oh man, I just can't. And then Hoodie, Qualcomm, ARM. Oh geez, this is just nonstop, man. It's going to be nonstop. Lyft, DoorDash, USE, Joby, Fortinet. Okay. I'll give you one trade setup. Fortinet is not going to do well, guys. It doesn't do well. And it's probably going to take CrowdStrike down. It's probably going to take Palo Alto down with it. And those are probably going to be buying opportunities at the end of the day. Definitely Palo Alto. Fortinet's probably not going to do great. The stock market's going to think that Fortinet and Palo Alto are in the same category. They're not. You can probably throw some put hedges on your Palo Alto Wednesday at the close, just some protective puts. They're not in the same category. They do the exact same thing. They're absolute direct competitors. Stay long Palo Alto, best of breed. Same thing as Zscaler. So it's Palo Alto, Fortinet, and Zscaler. These are the exact same products. They're all network security firewalls. Yeah, it's every year, or it's not even every year. It's every quarter. So if Fortinet does well, cool, all good. But if it doesn't, because Fortinet reports first, but of the three big ones, it's also Cisco that's in this category too. Of the three big ones, Palo Alto, Zscaler, Fortinet. Fortinet's the lowest on the execution totem pole. Like they're the least. They're not the best. Rubrik safe? That is a fundamental question. I don't know if Rubrik is a great company. Is the price of Rubrik safe? I don't know. It's expensive. They're probably going to do really good, is my gut. The Rubrik's probably going to do really good. But does the stock get rewarded for that? Is a different question. The company is probably going to do good, but will the stock go up? I don't know. Totally different thing. Datadog kicks off this software sector. So all of these up till now, by the way, have mostly been hardware and semiconductors. Arista, hardware. We got I heard somebody come in. Look at that.
Yo, what good timing. I was thinking I need to make a post anyway.
Evan,
how we doing?
The house. There he is.
Feels like it's been so long since we've done this. Season 2,
I
back.
know.
Paper and Evan.
He's back. We're just finishing up this earnings calendar. So everything's been hardware up until Thursday morning when we kick off Datadog. By the way, Evan, do you remember Bucky, our Winter Soldier? Snowflake?
Yeah, we back.
Have you looked at that chart lately?
I've been in it for a little bit, yeah.
Okay, so software has been on this like stealth recovery, specifically Snowflake too. The group saying what's up. And so Datadog kicks off this, really the software sector, which is the ticker is IGV for the software ETF. I guess you could say Palantir does, but it's historically been Datadog for the highest beta one in there. Palantir is now the largest component of that. It used to be Datadog. But yeah, these two, I guess, Datadog is probably going to be the highest beta component of the IGV ETF. And then we get into the software names. And that's like that MongoDB 10% move in the pre-market today. Look at this. They're all saying what's up. And then Affirm. DraftKings has been getting absolutely beaten down. I just don't think that this is an appropriate beatdown on DraftKings. I think that that's a little overdone. That's just me. I could be completely wrong, but that's my gut. I do think Robinhood is doing great, but I don't think it's completely eating DraftKings lunch. I think that with everything else going on, DraftKings probably as of today starts its recovery into earnings. And then Fridays are usually pretty mellow. Is there anything you're looking forward to this week for earnings?
AMD, Robinhood, Palantir, obviously those three there.
Tonight.
Palantir's tonight, Hims, Realty Income. They like that. I'm intrigued by Shopify and Uber.
Uber's
AMD as well. Tomorrow seems like the day where I'm like, all right, I'm excited. And then I don't want to spoil anything, but there's a chance I might be able to get to ask a question on the Robinhood earnings call. So that's always
you heard it here, folks. First. Well, so then the whole crew is probably going to be there. Dude,
well, I mean, I'm just saying that they've done it the last couple times, and last time it was user error by the crew, not Robinhood.
What would you ask Vlad if you had a chance to ask questions again? What would you ask him on this earnings call for this quarter? And if you guys have questions, what would you want to know?
Yeah, I honestly, I'd be curious to hear chat's take on it. I'd rather ask what they want to hear.
For sure.
Prediction markets is obviously one that comes to mind. I kind of just want to see how the numbers end up coming out a little bit. If we want to ask a little Ethereum bmnr question, I can ask about tokenization. I could ask about the OpenAI and stuff like that coming to the US. I don't know. I kind of just want to see the numbers and see the flavor of it. And I tend to go a little bit later on, and that's just when I enter. I kind of like to go towards the end of the question, see what other people are asking, and maybe ask something a little bit different. My read on the last couple of earnings calls is they're talking about all the opportunities, and there's like 20 things, and it's just so much. And it's like my similar question comes to is like, all right, how do we rank this? What are you most excited about?
Can you ask a question like, is it possible to ask a question like for the prediction markets when it's fully matured, like what would you estimate that annualized run rate to be for that business unit?
So what do you think the TAM is?
No, the ARR.
Achievable, but it's like
for the event contracts.
So what type of scale do you think?
How would you phrase that?
I'm going to say, what type of scale do you think the prediction market can get to? The prediction markets can get to on a revenue standpoint.
Yeah. Like when it's fully, because there's still
GME. Ask Vlad if he has any plans to expand to Canada. Interesting. Sorry, I was reading some of the comments.
What does he think about GME? Yeah, I don't know. Dude, this guy is just so like, no, we're not going to ask that question. He's probably got a large GME holding. When Cortex. I mean, I think everyone's going to ask that question.
I could ask about Robinhood strategies, which I'm also a little bit intrigued on as I've been watching it.
That's Cortex. Right?
Maybe I can try and finesse my way. No, that's Robinhood strategies is their like managed product.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. That's right.
I could try and finesse my way into this December event that they have coming up. December AI event. Sorry.
I like this. So from KJ, personally heard people not liking that they added betting markets to Hood. I think it might not be a good long-term play. So this is the bear case, right? But when people understand, like, okay, so what is the overlap between, I don't know how you phrase this to get the broader public to understand. So the overlap between when they went after the prediction market, what's the overlap between active bettors and active market participants? I know it's like 65 something, maybe 70% overlap. So it's what's the word I'm looking for? Complementary business unit. It makes the most sense. But then putting a number to it, like what's your annualized, what's the target ARR for that business unit? I think people are just having such a hard time digesting that. Like, what's the potential for it? Ask Vlad on the Sage. He just quoted 5.8% gold membership when without Robinhood Gold. We don't want to ask bad questions. We've got to ask good questions.
I'm sorry for derailing us, but I'm excited
No,
for our
I
earnings.
want to know. I want to like this is good stuff. We can actually, if you're
I'm
gonna
about the
get
honest
fast.
truth. I've stopped using Robinhood prediction markets. You want to know
Huh?
why?
Why?
Honestly, it's literally I've just started using Kalshi. More
Mhm.
markets and half the fees.
Yeah. So I'm like, that's probably gonna happen with the majority of people, and it's like, so the same thing, that same kind of evolution with futures, right? Like if you are to go on Robinhood and start using futures, like, okay, I'm just going to tell you guys right now, you use futures on Robinhood is going to be for a very short period of time. And if you start to like it and you have some success for it with it, you're going to be out of there extremely fast. Like you're going to be gone, peace out, adios. And you won't be trading futures on there for very long if you actually use it. So I think they took the same kind of approach, knowing that it's probably not going to be the stickiest thing, but unlike futures, like they've continued to evolve. I think the prediction markets for sure, but also you're not doing this. Well, are you doing sports bets? The spreads, when they incorporated spreads
I'm
and
doing
stuff like
sports
that.
bets. I'm doing sports bets. Honestly, I'm getting more degen. Last night, instead of betting on the NFL game, I bet on what the announcers will say.
Oh, yeah. So like the bingo card stuff. I'm really good at bingo. On these like press release or bingos. Like, dude, I don't think I've lost like at all any of these. Um, but anyways, this is earnings, and yeah, that'd be really cool to see up there or to hear the any of the cruise questions. That'd be interesting for sure. But prediction markets, possible. What's the ARR kind of stuff? A lot of the stuff about the Sage thing. This is new. Anything on? We're coming up to January. What was the Robinhood Social? And maybe like how they might plan on monetizing that when they launch, if they plan on will they have any advertising on Robinhood Social? That would be interesting because that would be like coming after Reddit type market cap also, or market also. Anyways,
Apparently, you were in the middle of my thing. Nice.
yeah,
Allegedly, I heard at the Robinhood event that when he was asked if it's a marketing strategy, if there's a marketing play to it, he said yes, or an advertising play.
yeah,
And if you have, listen, if you have targeted data, if you know what people own, there's a subset of advertising companies who are willing to pay a lot, and that can turn into a very significant business. But there tends to be a lot of regulatory concerns with brokers, more
yeah.
than you tend to expect, and like public, like they don't have their social media aspect to it anymore. So I don't know. We'll see. I think it's just they haven't announced anything with it, and my guess is they won't yet.
But you can pry.
But you can. I could pry. I could.
If you get to ask, you get to ask. Just remember, it's not. They don't give the forecast like that, but stock market wants to know what are you going to do for me by next quarter? And they said January launch. I think they said they said 2026 early. So, anyways, let's move on. So this is all right. So Seeking Alpha Catalyst Watch. Is there anything on the weekly one that you want to go? We did earnings, IPO watch for Off the Hook and Beta Technologies. I don't know what that is.
Sorry if you heard that. Honestly, not the biggest of stuff on here. There
Yeah.
is macro's a little bit of a weird week because the government's still closed. There are a lot of Fed presidents speaking. Pretty
A
much,
lot.
they were in the blackout window. Now that's done, so everyone's going to give their initial thoughts. So you should hear from every Fed president this week. Would be my guess.
Yep.
And then earnings was the big one.
Yep.
Yeah, we did have. There's no real treasury auctions. Obviously, all the China stuff that's going on over the weekend and the announcement there, it was booming the market a little bit, but no, the known knowns this week past earnings season wasn't that crazy.
The what?
Bank of America will hold the known knowns, the events that we know are going to be coming up this week.
Yeah. Pfizer has until Tuesday to match MTSR. That's still a thing. Pfizer was supposed to do their obesity drug, and they just never got that out of it. They never got that going. Fastly, interesting one. HubSpot, I don't know. Lending Club Investor Day. Cat Investor Day. When do we have the Tesla? There you go. Okay, so Thursday. So if you didn't talk about this, so Thursday, Tesla shareholder meeting. And the votes on the proposed $1 trillion pay package. This is Thursday, which means that it's T+1, right? So if you want to be able to vote for the Tesla shareholder meeting, you need to purchase your shares by Tuesday close. By Tuesday's close, which is tomorrow's close, then you need Wednesday to clear, and Thursday morning you'll be a shareholder of record, which means that you can sell the shares Thursday after the close, right? Because is the vote on Thursday?
I think it is on Thursday after the close, I believe. So I think you might be right. T+1. I'm not 100% sure, honestly. I haven't dug so far into it, so I don't want to give a take.
Yeah, so I'm convinced that this is the catalyst driving the Tesla share price at the moment. So it's Tuesday at the close, T+1, which means Wednesday you have to clear. Yeah, I did not sell that Mongo. I think that goes back to 400, by the way. Actually bought a little equity on the dip. And then Thursday at the close, after you vote or whatever, I think they'd be able to sell. So maybe just be cautious of a sell the news event if that happens. But I think that he's going to get the vote. If I have this timeline right, that's whatever date it is that you vote. Once they vote, then it's TBD. So just be cautious here. But look, I think if he gets what he's looking for, that's a good thing for shareholders. So I'm not going to sell anything. I'm not really sure why it would be a sell the news event, especially if he gets what he's looking for. That would be pretty good for the shareholders. Yeah, progress reports on critical.
I'm really okay. Part of me, there's that small part that's like wants to see the world burn, just maybe get some good tweets. I'm really curious to see what would happen if he didn't get it. It's the old Kanye line.
I mean, if
everyone was worried about what I'd do if I wouldn't win, I guess we'll never know.
I mean, he went so far out of his way to talk about it on his earnings call, and had like people talking about it on CNBC. I mean, it's a big deal. I don't know. He'd have a giant hissy fit. That's for sure. But yeah, we'll see. We shall see. So I don't know if there's any volatility built into this day, but Thursday into Friday is going to be a pretty big Tesla moving, like price move would be my gut, just based on that.
By the way, Paper, I just put it in the chat, and you should give me a mod, but it's okay. I won't say it again. I just gave the stream a like. I think if everyone else is watching this, you should as well. If you enjoy Paper's content, you should subscribe to his channel. Hit that bell button. If you're already subscribed, it'll tell you whenever he goes live. It will notify you.
I need one of those little
ding.
Yeah. One of those things
that Paper
pops up. I just have these things that like pop up. You could pop it up on the top right up, like the little logo that you could pop up. Oh wait, something like that. But yeah, I don't have a subscribe and like overlay. I need that. Oh, that overlay works. Anyways, and we went over this. And then subscribe to his newsletter, to the Stock Market News. I'm a subscriber to the newsletter, for sure.
That is most of the weekly thing now.
Yeah, I did promise them though. We missed Miss Cleo this last week.
Let's do it.
So I promised that we would actually get to it this current week. So you ready for this one? That's pretty much all you came here for, though, right?
Bullish. Come on, Miss Cleo. Let's do it.
All right. Let's check out what she has to say. Okay. Here we go. So this is what she has to say. How did that just happen? All right. So Miss Cleo gives us the forecast. This is the stock. I actually have not looked at it at all. I don't know what to read about this. So we got
good.
I mean, it's not horrible, dude. It's not horrible. Look at this. I'm not hating this at all. So the theme card, yeah, sure. It doesn't look that great. It's a little heart. We got stabbed in the heart. But then when I look into the daily cards, I'm like, all right, this looks about right. 7 of Cups. We had some pretty massive gap ups. And then the Magician, I don't know. This Wednesday cup or Wednesday card, I know this card, the Ace of Cups, is like we are overflowing with riches of some sort. So I think that's a follow-through day. I don't remember what happens on Wednesday. And then Thursday, the Tower card is actually not bad because like you have to build the tower. It's just a pullback card. And then Friday, yeah, we're going to battle again. So this looks like rally today.
I have what the Monday card looks like. What even is this? Okay, so there's.
What do you mean? This is like riches everywhere. Everywhere you look, there are riches.
It was like aliens for a second. I was like,
no, these are cups. Infected? 7 cups, and they're all like overflowing.
Full on the cups.
Yeah, I like this. I don't know what it means, but you know, I'm not.
Magician, take me to new all-time highs.
Magician is like maybe we gap down and then we get saved by support, maybe. And then we rally back to the, you know, like a poop, poop, magic. And then we're overflowing. And we've gone so far, we have to come back and we fall a little bit from the tower. And then Friday is like, we're ready to go back to battle for next week. Cruise control. I don't hate this, dude. That's so maybe it's not absolutely breakout territory if you were hoping for that, yeah. But this is very I could be completely wrong, you guys. I have no idea what this means. So let's read what she has to say. So the theme card is the 3 of Swords. Last week's theme card was the King of Wands, and Friday's card was the Queen of Wands. Moving to a 3 indicates a possible new direction, but the heartbreak isn't a great sign. All right. Swords tend to cut and cause wounds, which is a completely different energy than the fire and impulsivity of wands. The 3 does tend to reverse when following a royal and also has a negative bias. So that's not a great sign for the bulls. Well, let's see. Let's read a little bit more. Monday is the 7 of Cups. This card represents illusory. I don't even know how to say illusory gains, which means we're probably selling rallies. And if we're lucky, which we did sell a lot of rallies, a gap down. We didn't gap down. Cups represent flowing price action, not quick or overwhelming. Well, she's wrong there. It was quick and overwhelming. It can have the effect of a slow suffocation if you're stuck on the wrong side of a trade. Tuesday's the Magician. So there's a possible early morning trap here. That makes sense. I wouldn't chase the momentum. Instead, I'd expect continuation and close within 0.5% of the open. So dip buy unless we rip, or otherwise it's a pop sell. This guy can bring the energy, so don't get lured in. All right. Wednesday is the Ace of Cups, and this card has a slight positive bias and is highly lured by continuation, which means that if Tuesday is green, Wednesday has a high chance of following suit. So green. If it's green, Wednesday's green. Maybe if it's red, it's also red. I don't know. It also really likes to trend. So this is the day to chase. This is the day to chase momentum if the price action starts and stays strong. Price will be flowing, so you probably won't get a mean reversion move to buy in with. So it's trend day. So she's calling Wednesday trend day. And then Thursday is the tower. And we've had this card 3 Thursdays in a row. First one was green. Second one was red. You know the drill by now, yeah. The read is simple. If we're riding high on green energy into Thursday, then this is the day that the tower collapses. Otherwise, it's a fairly strong rally to set up a decent short later because we have to build the tower. This card can be quite trendy, so I would follow the momentum. Yeah. I like it. Friday's the 5 of Swords. This can be a nasty card. Ooh, because it means there was a trick or a trap. I don't like trap. I don't like when she says it's trappy price action. And the villain got away with the crime. Bastard. The villain got away with the crime? That's wild. Price action can be punishing for those on the wrong side of it. Mean reversion is likely, and so is trend. All right. There's a lot more going on here than with crypto. Crypto was blah. So, and we have a mix of trend and chop, but lots of chances for both intraday and swing trades. Yeah. There you have it. That's what she says in a nutshell. Ta-da. Could ETH see 28? If so, what would be, yeah, I could see that. bmnr will be closed. It would be after the market's closed.
Yeah, it's been
Middle of the night is when that would happen. Okay, so I'm just gonna check this out really quick. I always start out with kind of like a 30-minute chart, and we're gonna start out with SPY. Evan, think about your 2 requests if you have it. So this, by the way, this session gap is from last Friday. So we do have a session gap that's holding right now at 677.26 on SPY. At the highs, and we're going to measure this really quick. So from here to here, I'm going to do just a quick fib and say this is about a halfway point hold. So right now, 679 is that baseline support that we've held throughout the week or through last week. And that's technically it is a higher low from Friday. So from that perspective, it's somewhat constructive. It's very, very short term though. And as long as we're holding 683.50 right over here, actually, this is going to be pretty constructive. And that's going to make this whole scenario a breakout scenario, like a consolidation that actually breaks out, quite frankly. So let me see what that's going to look like.
Oh, paper, your screen's not shared.
Oh, all right. Ta-da. Yeah. So 677, that's last Friday's session gap up over. And then this white box or this gray box here, that's what I was saying. Like, as long as we're holding over this little area, it's actually fairly bullish. Like, it's a strong hold. Doesn't mean that we're going up. We're technically still chopping in this box, right? And really, let's call it this box up to 686. So this is the box that we need to really get out of. So the box is up to 686. And that's going to be a bearish retracement. So a bearish retracement of where we are right now takes you up in here, meaning if we can get up and over this area, that's going to look a lot better. And it should take us to about 688 to the upside. And if and only if that happens, then we can say, all right, well, that ends up just being one giant consolidation. This ends up being one giant consolidation, and we could expect some kind of follow through. You'll have another little blip on the radar like this that could take you to 696. What I want to do really quick is just double check what's an average weekly range. And yep, so an average weekly range to the upside is going to take me to just under 700 on SPY. Wow. So all the 700 predictions, if SPY makes an average move this week, can come true this week. I don't really see how that, yeah. So it's possible that it happens this week. Holy camole. Didn't really see that happening. Didn't really see that in the cards. And then from an average week's range to the downside, since we opened at 685, that would actually take us back down to the 20-day, and 671 is going to be your near-term support right over here. We're going to have that Wednesday ADP. So I would say in reality, about 670 is going to be that last ADP level for October, on October 1st that we got. But there are going to be a couple things that have to happen in the meantime, that as long as we're holding this general 680 box, look, it's really not in the cards. If we lose that 680 box, for sure, we're going to see that 670 gap fill. And even then, if we hit that, that's probably going to be it. It's not going to be until we really lose 677 that the upside is completely botched. So if we do have days trading below 677, all right, well then what I'll say is that we're going lower. Where we go lower is more around that 669 into this box, possibly 660, just under 670. And that's going to be a better dip buy, at least in the very near term. We'll have to see what things settle out. And if we do break down, there'll be a reason for it. So whatever the headline looks like, that'll be kind of telling. But that's SPY right now. 700 is in the cards based on where we are. For Qs, yeah, I didn't really see that. Didn't notice that was in the cards. For Qs, an average weekly range is going to be 650 to the upside. This is looking a lot more constructive already on QQQ. Probably a lot to do with the current headlines. Yeah, I have 660 or 650 for a basic extension if and only if we can break out of this current box. If we lose 624, that's when you kind of call it off, right? But not before then, for the week, that is. So below this, which is October 22nd, 27th open, so last week's low. If we get below last week's low, okay, well, we know that we're going to go down a little bit. And in that case, we could kind of come down potentially 612, even possibly 603, which would just really be a bit of a retest. I'm not sure what would happen or what would have to happen. Probably some kind of trade deals for that to happen, or some kind of rhetoric, but that's what the charts would tell me. In the meantime, look, that last weekend session gap is still there at 617. So just to be aware, there's actually one from this weekend and one from last weekend, 617 right here. So those are available. This small little blip, the 625, would be a very weak support, but it is support for this week. Weak as in not strong, but weekly support and your pivot for this week. That's Qs. Overall, I think this is fairly complete on this drawdown. Yeah, I have 644, possibly 665 for an upside here off of this, coming off of this breakout. And that would be that kind of trajectory. But, getting a pullback into that 613 is actually not bad when you think about that trajectory. All right, diamonds. And I do want to take one look at IWM, because if I get a dip for November, I want to see where that is. So currently, there is a big gap down here, 233. And a session gap, 236 right now. Let me just pull into a daily. I think it would be this 220 area. If we get a big dip, I would take this whole area across. Somewhere below 235s is what I like on this one. I don't want this to overlap, sorry. 234.02 is the top of this last consolidation zone, and the real traffic zone is about 220. So I would be watching IWM right now. Potentially, if I do see this one start to dip, I'd like to see this kind of stabilize somewhere in here, and then I'll probably start to pick this off. Something like that. That would be really good. I'm not sure we get this. I'm not sure I get really low. But it's early, and I'm just going to watch this guy. Otherwise, breakout is just a continuation if this goes over that, which is 252. And then that's just gone. We'll see how that plays out. So someone's asking about, there's a lot of lines here. Ethereum. So 28 is like the big discounts somewhere over here. And I think I've said that quite a bit if I turn these on. So I'm going to take some lines off. And there's a handful of measurements right now. So if I take these tops right here, we're kind of coming right into this bottom area. And then the prior trend and consolidation for Ethereum was in this, in between these white kind of trend lines, if you will. So right now, it's up over, and it's really just testing the top of this area. Can it just kind of bleed out and go sideways? Yeah, it can. But to me, on my kind of bingo card, it was always thinking hey, we can gonna do this and then start to head on out. So if 26 or 2800 ends up being a crazy wick, you would have to first lose this breakout level. And we're really not there yet. 3715, this area right here, 2024. Oops, that's not 2024. This is the second order level right here. It's these little areas. So we're not over 4,100. If we are over 4,100, look, we're just going back up. And right now we're still looking at the Bart Simpson, I Carumba kind of playing out. And essentially I'm looking for an inverse I Carumba to really complete. So we started to get up, but what happened was we ran right into this prior support, which was acting as support. It acts as resistance. That's what's happening. So while this is acting as resistance, I'm getting this rejection here, a rejection here, where before this was acting as support. So this is my resistance line, 4210, and then it actually came in a little bit lower right here. So I'm going to currently expect this area to move down slightly lower. I'm going to need to see this start breaking these levels if bmnr is going to actually. How come I can't move my line? If it's actually going to continue on higher. So this has to really go above that. And right now, all I'm seeing is that rejection. And it's sitting on this right here. So what is this? This right here is the prior bearish retracement from this all-time 48.50 swing high to this most recent 880 swing low. And this is actually where it broke out before. So where it was getting rejected, and rejected here, this is actually now acting as a bit of support. Starting to. It acted as support here, acted as support here. So the question was about this 2800. The only way that 2800 comes into play is if we lose this general area, which is from 3472 to 3445. Small, but if we lose that, then yeah, we should go at least to 31. If you lose 31, you'll get this little pop that's going to act as resistance again. That is the trajectory of how you would get that 2800. It's only this. And we're actually pretty far away. In this instance, though, that would have to be like a liquidity event, and it would probably be it would be like minutes. It would be as fast as these last candles. I don't even know that you would be able to catch this unless you had a resting order that was already sitting there waiting to catch Ethereum down there at this 2800 level. And by the way, this 2800 level, what it is, it's from this swing low to this swing high, and that is pretty much exactly that. So this is a 50% retracement of that, and that's a 618 retracement of that. And this is a little overlap between this retracement and that retracement, which gets me to this really pristine little pocket, which this is all super speculative. If that happens, would still put us within this consolidation and still available for that longer term breakout. It's just what it is on the charts, but it's early to trade for this right now. What's happening right now is a little consolidation, and you're being held on this prior, what was resistance here is acting currently as support right here. So unless this old support fails, not until then do you have this level to really think of. Maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't. But if you're waiting for that, you might be waiting for a while, and it's probably going to be a liquidity event. And my gut is it's going to be something like this that happens really fast. And then eventually the real inside of market hours consolidation is probably going to be around this 3,500 area anyways, and eventually kind of come back out. So what does that do to bmnr, which is the question? Really, what that does to it. So right now we're sitting at that first level right now, and we are below what we needed to see act as support. So that's broken down. You're at that first level support. That lower level support is down here at 36, possibly lower. This needs to get over 45 for sure. But you're just at that first support level. Since this doesn't have historical data the same way, what I'll just tell you is it's about here. And we'll call this a fair value. So it's about 34, roughly. is going to be from here to here. I mean, you're really close to it right now. 42.65. Yeah, I got about 42.65 down in this area. Worst case scenario is 34, but I don't know. I see mostly in this zone would be your, I think, realistic if you were to get something potentially during market hours. Any kind of liquidity event this is going to be too fast, and this would look like this, a wick, and you're probably going to be basically where you are now. Assuming everything else stays the way it is. But yeah, this chart is kind of trendless at this moment. One thing I'll do is say, all right, if this is like a big, ugly, it's not really head and shoulders. Where does this complete? This would complete at 35.82. Right here. So it's not really my 33, but it's in this box right here. I would say that. I like that. Right in this between 37 and as close to 37 as you can. If you get one more dip. But I don't know that you'll see this during market hours. All right. Evan, did you have a couple?
Give me a Apple first.
An Apple. Apple. So Apple had good earnings, but what was the thing? China still an issue of some sort?
Yeah, they missed on China a little bit, but they said they kind of explained it away, supply constraint, and then gave a pretty decent guidance for next quarter, 10 to 12% revenue guidance.
Yeah. So we got a little move down to this 261. Let me make sure this is not completely complete. So this is technically still on trajectory to the 320s up in here. And this last breakout was from that all-time high. $260.10. See how we consolidated right up on it. So what I would do is probably take from exactly high. Are you like there? I mean, I kind of like it today, dude. I'm not gonna lie. There's nothing wrong with this chart right here, right now. Completely still on trend. It's nothing but a series of higher highs and higher lows since the reversal down here. The channel is completely intact. It's literally right on the center line of that channel, which is what my gut would have been. I like this. It's an okay spot. Like, ideally, a better spot is going to be towards the 20-day, possibly towards that 260 level. Or sorry, yeah, 260 and change. Dude, is this doing no overlapping? 260 spot 10, but right here is not horrible. That's like that prior break holding up over. You still kind of need, so this is yesterday's low. It's just a defensive zone. So depending on where it closes today, what could happen is if you see this get up here and then reject, okay, fine. Then we're going to come down. We're probably going to get to that session gap from last week. And if we reject that session gap, 260 is a better spot. So every stock, not every stock, but a lot of the stocks are going to have that last Friday session gap over here. That's 263, which for all intents and purposes, if we do fill that, that's about where you should start to stall out. For an Apple, you have that prior all-time high that's going, if it does get into this trajectory, which for right now it's not, it's just going to be like accumulate down here. So it'll probably go sideways. Like if that does happen, then you'll have this kind of sideways and then reaccumulate. What you don't want to see is you don't want to see a breakdown and then retest with these 20 and 50-day SMAs flattening out. That would be your not good look scenario. But for right now, this doesn't look bad. It's a bullish hold, but it's not. It's just an okay spot. Everything's perfectly normal for now. It would be better if it was over 270 over Friday's close. Then I would say, all right, this is definitely going up. So today or this week, 270 is going to be that area where this flips. So when I say flips, right now it's red on the week, right? And so what's going to happen is if this gets back over, it's going to be at this point at 269.16 exactly. That's where Apple is going to start changing its momentum for the week. So it's literally 269.16 this week that Apple's trend will start trending back up. For now, it could kind of go sideways to down, but it's not. It's the broader trend is not gone at all. And this is just it's an okay dip, but yeah, it looks perfectly fine for a short-term dip. And there's nothing wrong with this chart long-term. It's still super bullish. I like it still, dude. I'd say as close to 260 as you can for a better dip. This is just normal. I would stay the course if you're already long. Nothing to do here. Look good.
Chat wants me to ask about Meta as the second one, so I'm excited about it.
There was a ton of Meta requests. So chat, this chart does not look good. Just let you know. But I think they know that. So the deal is that momentum, sentiment. So fundamentally, there's a lot of arguments why this move is stupid. We'll just say that, right? Why this move is overdone, overreaching, whatever. And that can be absolutely true. But I think that was similar before, and it's not the same situation when Meta went from, it's a different situation than this situation. When Meta went from 384 to $85, it's not the metaverse. We're not talking about the metaverse per se, right? And the software sector, I think, is a big deal. At least doing better right now. 600. So we have a bit of a double top. I'm going to do two things. One, I'm going to say, okay, if this is my neckline of a double top, when does that complete? That's already completed and it's extending. 611 was going to be my number, or 600s. From here to here, it's not a double top. I'm just using it as reference. So the chart is bearish. Structure is broken. You have You have a double top up here, legitimate one, with your lows, low, followed by a lower low, followed by a lower high, pre-earnings, by the way, followed by another lower low, double bottom, sure, but lower low, followed by another lower high. The structure is definitively bearish of the chart. And it's in a downtrend. It's outside of its channel. Here's the deal. So from this swing low to this all-time high, swing low is 471. Where Meta turned around and Meta said, hey, look, we're doing the year. Was this the year of efficiency, 2025? Or was it somewhere else? I think it was somewhere else.
No, it was somewhere else. It was right after that big crash, 2022, 2023, maybe.
Yeah.
Or this is a shorter time frame than I thought. I think it might be like 2022.
Yeah, you're right. So he's throwing out the year of efficiency is what's happened, right? And the sentiment is that expenses are just, it's not that it's all bad, but it's just that short-term expenses are growing faster than revenues. That's literally it in a nutshell. There's nothing more than that. So number one, know that the sentiment will shift if that storyline changes. In the meantime, it's 633.94. I think that could be your first liquidity grab. You have a little bit of a zone right here. What this is it's that first 50% retracement from here to here. That's 50% back. Realistically, if you lose that, the momentum coming into that is pretty strong. That's my one caveat. If you lose this, you have an extreme high probability that you get to this. If you lose that, extremely high probability, and this is 65% right here, and this is your fib, like your basic retracements. So you've pulled back at this point. You've pulled back 50% of whatever was happening from April to then, and then you've pulled back 61.8% and 65%. Most people call this the golden zone, the 633 to 595. This is like the golden pocket right here. How fibs work is that the reason this 0.5 to 0.618 area exists, like one other thing to note on fibs, not the reason, but if you lose this 0.5, if you lose it, the probability of getting to that 0.618 and really that 0.65 is like nearly 70% probable. And then I have a bit of a volume shelf right here. So net, this is as close to 600 as you possibly can. Maybe a little bit above, a little bit below 600. The low end of this is 585. So that's my answer in a nutshell. Only if 633, 634 doesn't stop. If this goes lower. So the first spot is 634 right here, and you have this little area here. You're going to know that this holds for one reason and one reason alone. That's this little yellow line. It hasn't yet We're going to call this a break of structure. And I'm going to zoom in one more time. And I'm spending a lot of time on this because I know a lot of you guys care about this. This is Friday's close. So let's say that this week you hit this 633.96 and you chop around here a little bit. And then later on, you get back over this 645 level. This is good right here. So Friday's low, the close on Friday, is literally the level that you want to watch out for. If you've already added, cool. That's fine. I wouldn't add here. That's not really anything to do. I think you could add a little bit here. You could add a little bit here, and then definitely a lot down here. This is your juicy level. So I would add this is where I would get interested for sure. Meta has a tendency to do this thing where it just gets overly excited, and when it trends, and you just kind of gotta sometimes get out of the way, because they get a little overzealous from time to time, and things just stay irrational longer than you think, regardless of the fundamental story. But I get it. So it's interesting. The answer to the question, 634 and 5, between 595 and 585. This is your high value add right here, just below 600, as it kind of always has been. But getting to an interesting spot right now. I also have a little bit more confidence. If I pull this all the way across, you have a lot more confidence here. Right? I like this because of a lot of other reasons. You got this, you got this entire traffic zone to kind of hold you up. There's a lot of confluence here from a raw price action perspective. Doesn't mean it's going to go up right away, but where it might stop going down, somewhere in this general area. That's my 2 cents. That was a good one, dude.
Yeah, that was a good one from you. Looks interesting.
All right, guys. So I'm gonna do a quick time check. We should do Dungeons and Dragons. I'm just gonna scan. We can do nvidia and UNH, and I did see a handful of nbis requests, and then we're gonna call it. So NVIDIA is on its way. So I think NVIDIA got that Microsoft headline. Did you see that today? Another one is out of this most recent.
Yeah, there was a couple. Which one? There was a Iran headline, but there was also one with UAE.
The one about Microsoft with forgot, like, as right before
United
I went live.
Emirates or Nebia or Iran.
No. Iran and Cypher, or Iran was a data center thing, and then Cypher was up like 30%. Is Cypher still up 30%?
Got approval to bring some NVIDIA chips to the UAE. Is that what you're talking about?
Well, that was pre-market. It was after that. It was with Microsoft. Anyways, as part of Lambda's agreement with Microsoft, Lambda will deploy AI infrastructure, blah, blah, blah. It was more AI infrastructure stuff. That was what turned NVIDIA around kind of intraday, because it was flat, and then right about here, 207, it got another pop. So if you've been on the prior streams, 177 was about that area for NVIDIA to get out of that most recent consolidation. By the way, that played out perfectly to a T, like absolutely perfectly on this most recent pullback. And I took that, our group took that, and that has been an awesome trade. I think the question is, does it continue on? It looks really strong. My thought was, I want to be long NVIDIA into Mag 7 earnings. And I think most of this has gone through. The news flow has just been absolutely insane. I will say that. This here, I think extension takes me to 325 at most. And then, so we're almost there. And then this most recent pullback which is the one post breakout. So it's like this. So we've had this consolidation, right? We broke out, we came back, we kind of retested that area, 177, and then coming in, we were going to extend beyond. And if we held through 205, we should make our way into 215, potentially into this 225 zone, which to me is actually the general target pre-earnings. Believe it or not, pre-earnings. So I think this is good from a consolidation perspective. If we can hold 208 to 205 in this general area right here, this whole trajectory is still on track. I'm just going to get one more reading. And this gives me, I'm getting more confidence in the 227 area. Almost exact double line at 227, 228. I don't know what those other analysts have, but this is just raw price action. So for now, if I see this close to 205 and holding, I think this is the trajectory that you get something like this on NVIDIA before earnings. This could be like this. The current breakout is sitting at 212. So if it's over 212, look, it's just happening. And then you're still in line. You'd have to move this up to 208.50 to 208. Yeah, 208.50, because that 205 is not happening. But this looks good, and definitely a close over 208 today is going to be really constructive for NVIDIA. Would I say Tesla? Did I say Tesla? I don't know if I said Tesla or not. We know Tesla's going to 6. I don't know if it's going to 6 or not, but
I did not think you said Tesla.
I don't know.
You definitely said
I know that. There we go. Okay, over 452 and change. We knew it was breaking out of this consolidation. This consolidation does take me to 520s, so that would be your upside target on this breakout of this near term consolidation. If it doesn't, though, what this would look like for a breakdown is it would look like this, right? Which we know is still going to be a retest of this general area and this uptrend line. And so that's going to take you to around 370 on the downside still. So the downside of 370 remains. The upside of 530 also remains. It's a pretty binary result here. But either way, this is the box that Tesla lives in. It's a giant box. As long as we're over this 450 area here, this is going to be pretty bullish. So there's that. 450 is right here. And then your all-time high is, I'm just going to say 488 for Tesla. Here. But this extension out of that consolidation takes me well beyond that. One thing I usually do on these moments is just kind of identify, do we have some kind of low volume pockets, which we always do at these all-time high areas. So I have one here, and then I have one here to watch out for. This is going to be 470, 469, and 465. Now, I know that Tesla's trading over that. Let me just let me go back. Gamma. Oh, this is going to be really hard to go back to. See if I can nail this even. Oh, there you go. 480. There we go. So 480.19 and 468, whatever that is. There we are. So if we can hold this 466.21, that's the next stop. 480. 488 is your all-time high. If you lose any one of these, then you come back down, which would be like this near term. but this chart's ranges are getting really, really big. It's becoming a massive mover. Looks good. I did say UNH is what I said, huh? So UNH, I had, it had broken out of this prior little box. And I think this comes down to a lot of the healthcare stuff for the government shutdowns. But if you draw this across, this is the box that it had broken out of before with a little wick, like the little tippy top here that this broke out of before. And this one here marked the total change of character of breaking out of the uptrend or out of the downtrend. So it was a giant box near term. This trend is weak at the moment post earnings. Hit the 200-day simple, smacked it right on its head, lost the 20-day, actually lost the 50-day. What I'm looking for now is actually a higher daily low. So since hitting the 200-day simple at nearly 400, that's kind of like your near-term targets acquired, and we start to see this little bit of a sell-off kind of commence. I'm going to be looking for a daily higher low. I don't have it. Every day since then, we've actually gotten basically a new low, right? And so I'm looking for this structure to really change. And this is the first time we've gotten to a really important area of interest. So this is the first retest of that full-blown breakout. If this goes lower, one thing I will say is like really the traffic zone is 300. So the real traffic zone here is all of this area and that prior breakout, all of this in here. So, and that you can see on my screen here that we would call a volume shelf, high volume node of a shelf is so if I lose 325, yeah, we're probably going to fall another $25 and it's going to be as close to 3 as you can, which is going to be a complete retest of this most recent breakout right here, right here, right here, and that same breakdown. So that will be resistance actually going to get tested as support. In the meantime, what we're doing is we're testing that first upper level right now. So I think this is due for a bounce in the first, and we got a bounce. And this is that first spot that we see. Does this become that daily higher low? So in the meantime, if it pulls back and holds 329 today and tomorrow continues to hold, I think this becomes constructive immediately. And immediately looks like, okay, I'm going to hit this 337, possibly 340. And then I can come back and continue on and start to mend this chart right here, right now. So today's level at 327 is actually a pretty important price. We'll call this like a price of interest. I would call this a price of interest. So price of interest right here, we want to watch and say, hey, can it hold and lock in a higher daily low from here? Doesn't have to be new highs, but can it start to consolidate at least and start going sideways where I can get a constructive base and break from here moving forward, and that will put UNH on the mend for another move to the upside, which on this one, if we do get, let's say, oops, wrong tool. Let's say if that is a move to the upside, this becomes a $420, $430 target upside through the 200-day simple. If I get that, I will know this is happening definitively if we're over 360. So, but until then, this is the buildup. And I think the first stop that you start to really get interested and really watch. 336 is another key pivot right here. That's kind of what you lost this morning. But again, that would be your first break of structure. Is if you get up here, then I'm pretty sure we're actually going to make it up to that 336. It might get choppy, but I'm pretty sure this whole thing is going to happen if we can get over this 336 level right in here. So price of interest today, heavy watch. From there, break of structure would be over 336. And that's where a trade would actually, above that is where a trade would actually begin. Like this. Up to here. That's what that would look like. So that's my watch. Did I have one more? nbis. I think this is so I think you're okay, but you're probably gonna consolidate a bit. Yeah. So from here, I mean, if you caught that 94, that's a solid catch. I think you pull back and you consolidate, and this could be somewhere around 115 potentially to do that. I would use this general level, and I have a like a volume shelf over here. But yeah, this has earnings mid-month. So we might not even get that much because what was the Iran news?
It was with Microsoft, I think, this morning.
So the only thing is, like, do the data center plays like CoreWeave and the like? Oh, actually, no, it's right here. I'm sorry, it's literally right here. Do CoreWeave and nbis become less interesting? It's here. Do CoreWeave and nbis become less interesting data center plays with Iran in them? I don't know. $123. It's got to close over this box. This is the box. 123 over 125. If you're closing over 125, it's going up. I'm just going to say that. If it's closing over 125, it's going up, and it's going up to 130 in the quickness. I mean, ultra quickness, like immediate. Below 122, it is 117 for your dip. And that's really it. Like, you don't want to see it lose 117. If you lose 117, then that's below the 20-day, and you're probably going all the way back because this ain't going to save you. You're probably going all the way back to 102 is what that looks like. So 117 and then 102, but above 125, it's just going higher. And higher looks like higher looks like 165s is what higher looks like. Looks like that. And you got a session gap up here at 135. That's nbis for you. I like it. I own the stock. Don't hate it. All right, guys. That's a lot. Appreciate you, Evan, for coming in, dude. It's been real. We're closing it up 2 hours in.
I appreciate you, Paper. If you guys are, like I said, if you're not following Paper, subscribe to him. Check out all the stuff that he is doing.
Subscribe to the channel. Like the video.
Subscribe.
Like and subscribe. All right, guys.
Paper.
What's up?
I just want to say, I missed you on the Wolf Trading live streams a little bit.
I know. I'm getting so deep into the School of Gains. Like, I just need to knock this out because I want to get it done by this month. I actually want to start launching like ASAP. So I'm very much like heads down into getting that done. But once that's done, then my schedule is going to free up quite a bit. So you'll see me out a lot more.
I am getting better at clipping up too. So what I can promise you is you'll give me some time, teach a lesson, and I promise to clip you up a great YouTube video, which we'll share out a good bit, get some views on it, get some extra people on
There
it.
you
It'll
go.
be a good thing.
Love it. All right, guys. Until next
Thanks,
week,
bye.
I'll see you then. Adios. Peace.